What's up, everybody? We are back with Against the Spread College of Football Edition podcast. I got Rich and Brennan with me. How's everybody doing today?
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yep, great day, great day. Starting to get the fall weather. I'm loving it.
Oh yeah,
I know, I
big
know.
time.
I've been loving the weather outside. I've been going on some walks and stuff, so I'm loving it. Let's talk about a couple of woes from last week. So we got our week 3 woes. Georgia and Kentucky. I'm just going to go ahead and start it off with that. 13-12, Georgia pulls out the win in Kentucky. It wasn't like it was just a really frustrating game to watch as a fan, but even as someone that's not a fan, I feel like both of y'all could even come to Georgia's side and just be like, yeah, that was super frustrating to watch in general, because it looks very constipated on both sides of the ball. But Georgia looked really good defensively, which you love, because the only reason why we won that game is because our defense forces 4 field goals. Um, if you're Mark Stoops and you don't like, I don't understand why you don't go for it on fourth down in the red zone, basically against Georgia in the fourth quarter. You basically lose the game right there when you don't do that. So that was pretty stupid in my opinion, because I think he could have beat Georgia with that. But Georgia on offense, this is what a couple things, because watching film, you can see this. Kentucky had a great plan for Georgia's offense, and there could be some, I don't want to say anything about this because I don't want people to say this is an excuse, but they do have our former quarterback and our former middle linebacker who know both plays on both sides of the ball, right? It's pretty telling that their defense knew exactly what the hell was going on a lot of the times. Like if you just watch number 11 on Kentucky, there's about like 50% of the plays where he's literally just pointing where the ball is going to go. He goes right here, and then the ball gets snapped and they run it right there, or it's a bubble right there. It's like they knew from formations and shit. They had it packed down. They knew what we were doing, which is great coaching on their part, right? It's great coaching. And also a bunch of checks they got into, and we got in certain formations, they check out, and they had a bubble coverage basically on the backside, like a zone where it looked like they were playing quarters a lot of the times, and then they would switch. They disguised it great. They were doing a great job with that. So I think it confused Carson a lot with the coverages they were running and how they were playing them. But overall, a win's a win, I would say. But I do still think this counts as a woe, in my opinion, just because Georgia played not up to their standard. When you're a 22-point favorite in any game against anyone and you don't cover, or you win by 1, you win by 3, something like that, there's going to be conversations about, okay, so what happened? And I don't think it's something to be really alarmed about, because Georgia still won the game, and there's a lot of things Georgia can fix, and now they know what they need to fix, But thinking about this, their defense played great, and we had 4 defensive linemen out, you know, and 2 of
Yeah.
them are our best. So if you want to talk about our defense causing havoc in that game and making Brock Vandergriff look confused, I mean, he looked confused the whole game, and we still didn't have our best players on defense, in my opinion. So, Brendan, you got anything on this one?
Not on that specifically. I definitely agree with all you're saying, but my week 3 woes award goes to Florida.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Because yeah, specifically because I mean, I feel like this was kind of a good spot for Billy Napier. I know Florida fans were already upset about week 1 Miami. Like, we've talked about this before. Billy Napier thought this year was his team. Whatever, kind of win where you can with this schedule they have. I mean, if they win 5 games, holy hell, what a great season for Florida this year. But I mean, they had such a big opportunity here playing Texas A&M at home. A&M hasn't won on the road since 2021, I believe. I think they've lost before this
Saw that.
game, they
That's
had
the
lost their
craziest thing I've
last
ever seen.
10 games
Right.
on the road. Not only that, Texas A&M was without their starting quarterback. So Connor Wigman was out. They're starting a young Marcel Reed who hasn't played in the game yet. I mean, he got a little bit of playing time in the week before, but bullcrap playing time. So this is a big spot. I mean, to take advantage of that and,
Hey, Texas
you
A&M's
know,
quarterback looked good.
oh yeah, maybe, maybe pull the
Connor
upset over
Weigman
Texas
ain't getting
A&M.
that spot back.
Yeah, so I mean, looking at that, I mean, A&M was up what 20-0 at halftime, and it was just like, well, yep, Florida's still trash. There's no shot, and obviously Billy Napier's on the hot seat now. But it was just crazy, man. I mean, Florida's trying to run like the duo quarterback system, and it just didn't go great. Lagway was 6 for 13 with 54 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Florida was held to only 52 yards rushing, and A&M had 310 yards on the ground. So it just looks like everybody on defense for Florida just doesn't care. It's like there's zero effort on that side of the ball, and then their offense obviously just can't get it going. So, I mean, Gators, I mean, Billy Napier is definitely on the hot seat now. I don't think it's a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. Obviously, there's no reason
Mid-season,
in
maybe.
fire. Yeah, there's no reason in firing him now. Like every show I've
I
been
don't think they're
listening
going to
to, it's
fire him
like,
at all this season.
yeah,
Honestly, they're going
it's
to wait
like,
until after the
um,
season to get their guy.
yeah. Everything I've been hearing is like, what's the point in firing him now? Because you're not going to get a better upgrade within the system. You're obviously not going to take a guy from another team. So it's like, might as well stick with what you got for the season. Hopefully you can win a couple ball games to keep some people there and keep some recruits interested. But yeah, I think Florida Gators are dumpster fire right now.
Rich,
Yeah,
you got
my
a
week
woe for this week?
2. Yeah, my week 3, or yeah, week 2 actually. Week 2
No,
woe
week three.
is
Week
week
three.
3.
Week there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, week 3 woe is the Arizona Wildcats. Partially because that was one of my best bets of the week, but they looked absolutely terrible on offense with all that talent they have.
I
I
thought you were
mean,
going to go Florida State, honestly.
look, it's beating a dead horse at this point. Florida State looks
Yeah.
terrible. You pay that much money for Memphis to come in and DJU to look like DJU, and then you still don't make any switch ups. I don't know what they're doing down at Florida State. We could just put that as like a permanent woe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like what you're saying though about Arizona. Like when you have that much talent on offense, and of course to the outside it looks like you only have Fafita and then what's his last?
McMillan.
McMillan.
Yeah,
Teratoa.
McMillan. I just don't know how to say his first name, but yeah, you got McMillan. They have more weapons on that offense, right? And it's not like Kansas State has this insane defense that you can't do anything against. They were running a soft shell like half the game.
And Tulane just
they
put
could
up
do
numbers
anything
against that
underneath.
defense, right?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
Tulane just put up numbers. I mean, and Fafita looked like you saw McMillan be a beast all game, right?
Right.
But Fafita, when he had to get outside of his one read to McMillan, it looked terrible. Like it looked like he was not going to complete.
Yeah,
a pass.
he just looked a little. He looked young, and that's what he is. He is young. So
Agreed. Yeah,
we got to give him a little bit of credit on the side. He's played a whole year of football though. He has, but it's his second year.
But
Yeah, I mean,
but
he's
to that point too, Avery Johnson looked way better than he did, right?
I agree.
That,
Avery Johnson looked poised. He looked like he knew where he was going. He looked confident. He never really looked like he was second guessing
except
anything.
on that
His
last
legs
play
were
of the first
good.
half.
Yeah,
exactly.
The first half. But no, I would go as far as to say that was Noah Fafita's worst college football game by far.
Yeah,
I agree.
Sure.
It looked terrible.
For sure. I mean,
he was almost
even last week struggling against North Arizona or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like something is just not clicking.
It could be the new head coach, right?
And
true.
that happens whenever you're changing schemes, like you're schematically changing from one thing to another. Your coach is leaving and going to a quote unquote better program, Washington. And then, you're struggling in the first couple games. It's normal. They lose a game. They were ranked 20, but I think they can gain some momentum with some games on their schedule left that they can win for sure. So Arizona's not a bad team. They just need to go ahead.
Yeah.
Joseph's in chat. He said Kiffin to the University of Florida by the end of the year.
No, I like that. I like that a lot. I think that Kiffin would leave Ole Miss in a heartbeat. So I think it'll be you got to think about how big the Florida market is and like the coaches that have been there and how they've succeeded, like Urban Meyer and Dan Mullen actually succeeded there too for a little bit. So like they've had good program success and they got a lot of money down there. I mean, they got a lot of money. So it's a program waiting for a coach to come in there that can recruit. Like if you can come in there and recruit and do it quick, like he's shown at Ole Miss, he can get this portal rolling if you give him the right money. He knows who to get and how to get them. And then high school, he's recruiting that as well. He's not just going after the portal. He's doing both.
You give him the Florida pipeline, that's going to be a scary thing to see.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
You give him the Florida, and then he's got access to Georgia now too. Like a lot of those kids would come play for Kiffin. Like that's a big thing. So we'll see how it works. But
another last woe. The referees this week were atrocious. I don't know if y'all saw it as much as I did. It seemed like every drive that people started moving down the field or a big play happened, there was a flag every time. I
will say the Georgia-Kentucky game, Georgia got flagged a bunch of times on shit. That
LSU South Carolina game was
bad. And same thing with LSU South Carolina. Like the officiating was really like SEC officiating has been really bad this season so far. That needs to get cleaned up.
It has to, or it's just going to be
or
an unwatchable
all
product.
These games are going to be are decided by those factors. Like I think that South Carolina game was definitely decided by
I think they got
that.
hosed.
So yeah, so we'll see. But let's go into some of the games that we have for last week. Let's go into last week's games. So we had Texas and Michigan.
Nope.
Nope.
That was the week before.
Sorry. South Carolina LSU. That's my fault. Yeah, South Carolina LSU. We were just talking about this game anyway, so we'll kind of go right into this. But LSU, in my opinion, played a really good game to even be able to get back into the game. But if Lenore Sellers stays in that game the whole second half, I don't think LSU wins that game. Not saying Lenore Sellers plays defense for South Carolina, but I think that their offense would have stayed rolling and it would have been a much larger score on South Carolina's side. So I could have seen them scoring 40 something in that game. And even if they did 40 something to whatever 36, they still win that game. So I feel really confident saying that if Lenore Sellers was still in that game, that they win. But that's not how college football goes. You know, sometimes injuries happen and you have to win without the guy. And they still almost did. They almost pulled it off. They had a pick six at the end of the game, basically, and it got called all the way back because of a personal foul. What was it? Basically excessive blocking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But yeah, I mean, I thought it was a penalty, and then I watched the replay and I saw it was all hands. He didn't even do anything crazy. Nussmeyer just flopped really well, and it worked.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a ref and you're looking at the pick and your head's turned, and then all of a sudden you look back and you see the quarterback on the ground and someone standing over him, you're gonna be like, "Oh shit, he's got rocked." That's a flag because that happens a lot. Quarterbacks do just get clacked back, and it happens. But there's no even reason to block him. He's not catching a kid who runs a 4.3. You know, it's just stupid. So, I agree on that standpoint. But Brennan, also I had LSU -7 in this game for a best bet for me, and it did not look good at all.
You chalk that in the first
Yeah.
half.
I'll chalk it up as we're lucky we even won in that game. But the bet did not win. So, but go ahead, Brennan.
Yeah, no, I mean, it just seemed like every time South Carolina had an opportunity to close this game off and solidify the win, they just found a way to screw it up in whatever way imaginable, whether it be flags, whether it be fumbling, whether it be throwing an interception, whatever it was. It was just every single time. I mean, obviously they were up 17-0, so all they had to do was just not screw up, and they just kept doing that over and over again. I mean, and it's crazy. Like LSU won pretty much everything you would like to win in a game to be the winning team. I mean, they had 26 to South Carolina's 18 first downs. They won the yardage battle. They won the turnover battle. They won the penalty. They had time of possession, but it still seemed like South Carolina should have won that game in every way. You know, I mean, obviously you mentioned the flags, obviously that one, and then there was another pick six that got called back earlier in the game where
Right.
you know the edge defender came and they called it a horse collar. I mean, he grabbed him by the jersey. I don't know if that still
There's a horse collar for sure.
I mean, I
collar.
like people were trying to complain about. I was like, even though he just grabbed his jersey, like that was still grabbing him by the neck pretty much and slinging him down.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is the jersey back there counts as well. So
Yeah.
you don't have to grab inside and grab the pads for it to be a horse collar. But
Yeah,
that's
I
just
mean-
people not knowing exactly what they're
Yeah,
doing.
I saw people on Twitter complaining about it. I'm like, I mean, that looked pretty damn bad. So
That was a clear
Yeah.
horse collar, and it should have been called a horse collar the whole time. So I think that they did get screwed on one of the calls, but the other one was very obvious that it was right.
Yeah, no, I mean it was just a bummer. I wanted South Carolina to win this game. I hate LSU. But I mean, just I mean, hopefully, you know, Shane Beamer uses this as a good teaching moment. Like, dude, when you're up, you gotta stick to it. You can't take any time off, any snap off. But like you said, Lenore Sellers going out, maybe it killed some of that momentum. But I mean, yeah, what a game though. What a game.
Yeah, I would venture to say game of the weekend probably
Yeah.
because I mean you don't see that many teams on the road in the SEC come back from 17-0. That's
what I'm saying.
pretty hard
it's
to do.
It still was a really good game by LSU, I think, to even get back into it. And it wasn't like they just got back into it in the second half. I mean, they were doing okay, you know, in that second quarter, but you know, it happens. I'll say this, it happens. If you're South Carolina, you can't be upset about it. You saw a lot of good things from your offense and defense, and I think they will be able to win some of those games this year that people aren't expecting them to. So that'll be exciting to see.
Yeah, and I think I I just remember I was listening to this one in the car, and I was listening to Kirk Herbstreit, and I think South Carolina had the ball in their own 20, that fumble. Kirk Herbstreit goes, "Oh no, that's the one thing you can't do."
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then
exactly.
LSU, of course, scores a touchdown. And then I think I mean, their momentum, they obviously still had a little bit, but it was a little bit more shot after that. And then honestly, it was cool to see the freshman quarterback for South Carolina go down the field and even get them in range of field goal. And then, the field goal kicker could have finished it off and take us to OT. But yeah, when you're 3 for 12 for third down and then you have 13 penalties, you probably aren't going to win that game, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah. It was just, I mean, like I said, like they got a turnover on down. LSU had a turnover on downs on South Carolina's 1 yard line, which I get it's tough to move the ball in that instance, but they immediately go 3 and out. Later at the end of the fourth quarter, when they had that interception on their goal line, again, huge momentum changer. Okay, let's push the ball down the field, at least keep our defense off the field. Nope, 3 and out. Boom, gives LSU the ball right back. You just got to at least kind of make somewhat of a drive to keep
Yeah.
that momentum in your favor, but to get those turnovers on downs and then that interception and just immediately go 3 and out and have to give them the ball right back doesn't help your case. That just gives LSU even more momentum to be like, okay, we screwed up, but we're all right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, in all, I think that we all can agree that was literally the best game of the weekend.
Yeah.
I thought it was
Yeah.
gonna be a great game. Didn't think it was gonna be that good, and I also didn't think South Carolina was gonna do that. So that
Yeah.
was surprising. So
Mm-hmm.
South Carolina definitely should have won that game, but it's not how it rolls sometimes. Let's talk about this Boston College Missouri game. We thought this game was going to be pretty close and a good game. What was the spread going into this? Was it actually
It was
kind of
like,
17.
big?
yeah, it was
Yeah,
17.
17.
yeah. I thought it was too big. I didn't bet it because I was like, I think that's way too big. I think Boston College is a better team than people think. They're coached by a really, really good head coach, obviously. Brennan, you know that from experience. So
Mm-hmm.
I just think that people underestimated them. And when you look into that game, it looks better that I think than it actually was. Like it's 21-27, but it really was 27-14 pretty much
Yeah.
like the whole game. Like in the fourth quarter and stuff, they scored again. But it looked like Missouri was in a really good spot that whole game. And for the most part, I feel like if you're Missouri, you're proud of the way you played, but as Boston College, you just had a huge game where you won. You weren't expected to win. And then you come in this game, and a lot of people were expecting you to be 17-point underdogs. You only lose by 6. That's a huge thing for your team. Just momentum wise, to be playing the number 6 team, 9 team in the nation or whatever, and then
Yep.
going in there and playing them really close or at least competitively. So I thought it was really good on that part. It really was a boring game, in my opinion. But other than that, Missouri didn't look like the team that everyone thought they were. And that happens. Sometimes you get a little bit overranked, but it'll kind of even out, I think, for them. Brennan?
No, I mean, I think Boston College had a chance to win this game. They were up 14-3 early on. And then it got 14-6 after a field goal, and then Castellanos threw an interception, which turned into a touchdown for Missouri. I mean, basically, this game came down to turnovers. Castellanos ended up throwing 2 interceptions, and you can't, when you're the underdog on the road against those teams, like you can't make those mistakes. And it seemed like, it wasn't like they were great plays by Missouri. It was really just bad, piss poor decisions on Castellanos' part, trying to throw balls where he shouldn't have. And if he would have just maybe, I don't know their entire game plan, but just been a little more conservative in those moments instead of trying to throw balls where he couldn't fit them, maybe a different outcome. But yeah, definitely a hiccup for Missouri. But I mean, BC is a very well coached team. I'm excited to watch them for the rest of the season, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they absolutely dominated Florida State. They played that good against Missouri on the road. I mean, what can they do in the ACC? I mean, they might be a little dark horse for the ACC.
Yeah.
But overall, very impressed by Boston College early on. Missouri, maybe a little overhyped. I don't know. We'll have to see.
I think it kind of falls back on Bill O'Brien's coach laps. He's coaching laps around people right now. I think
Yeah.
he's a really good coach. You can kind of see they got their run game taken away completely in this game, right?
Yeah.
And so
Mhm.
they had to lean on a quarterback that doesn't necessarily throw a lot. And so obviously those mistakes are going to come, but
See, he relies on his feet more than anything, right? And
exactly,
going into this
exactly.
game, we talked about he's gonna have to throw the ball in this game. They're
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
make him throw the ball. And even when he gets out the pocket, we talked about it. He runs with his head down for some
Mm-hmm.
reason when he gets out the pocket and runs like this. Never seen a quarterback do that in my life. But
it's not a great quarterback, and you're going into a game against Missouri with as much talent as they have, and Bill O'Brien's having to pass the ball, so it kind
and
of
their defensive line is pretty good. Like
yeah,
Missouri's defensive line is actually
Yeah.
pretty good. So you're playing against, you're not playing against overhyped Florida State. You know, you're coming in here and you're playing an actual well-coached Missouri team. That's a top 10 team, a legitimate top 10 team in the nation. So you're going in there and you're expecting one thing, you're getting another from a Boston College standpoint. But I think they did kind of rally though a little bit. Obviously, Brennan, you said that they made some mistakes in that first half. Because what was it, 17-14 at the half or something, right?
It was 14-3 going into the second, or in the second, and then they switched it 17-14. I think they started throwing the picks after that.
Right, yeah. So, but at halftime, it looked actually pretty competitive. But second half, Missouri made some adjustments and kind of shut the whole offense down for Boston College, which makes sense. And that's just good coaching on Missouri's Missouri side. But overall, I think both teams are actually pretty good. So we're gonna see where they both kind of land as we go throughout the season. Next game, we had Alabama and Wisconsin. This was really just a game that we put on there because we were unsure of how Alabama was going to play on the road at Wisconsin. Not because we didn't think that Alabama was going to lose. We didn't think they were going to lose at all. But it was just, how are they going to play in this game? Are they going to play like they did against USF and struggle offensively, make some bad choices, turnovers, and just play really sloppy? It didn't look like that at all. They looked really sound for most of the game, in my opinion. Obviously, there's some things that didn't go right all the time, but they still won 42-10 or something.
Yep.
Right. I mean, Wisconsin's offense couldn't move the ball a lick, like at all. Wasn't even close. And we thought that coming in that they weren't going to be able to score. So it kind of turned out how we thought, but I did want to see how they played against at least on the road against that's a good environment in Wisconsin. So they kind of rose to the challenge. Brennan?
I mean, just the one thing I wanted to see was with Caden Proctor back at left tackle and Elijah Pritchett over at right tackle, and obviously it bode very well for us.
Right.
But I mean, it's the one thing I was still concerned about is obviously I know we can make the big plays. It's just what concerns me is, are we capable, against the Georgia, obviously in 2 weeks, is Alabama capable of sustaining a drive? Like, because when we get ourselves in those third and long situations, we don't have that style of offense unless Jalen Milroe breaks for a big run. We don't have that style of offense to get those smaller chunk plays to get the first down. It's like, hey, we're either having a breakout run or we're throwing it deep every time. So it still didn't see that, which, I mean, we didn't have to. Obviously, we hit all the deep balls we wanted to throw. Jalen Milroe had 75 yards.
But
on the
when they
ground,
play a better secondary, how is that going to bode for them?
Exactly. I mean, you saw it against. I mean, you saw it against USF. It was like, obviously, like I said, the offensive line wasn't there for USF, but you saw we weren't hitting those deep balls. So we were just having to try to rely on the run. We weren't throwing it over the middle. We weren't trying to take these short gains. It was just like we were trying to rely on the run, and they were stopping us at that. So it just made us look terrible until we were eventually wore them out and just ran over them. But I mean, it's just, I think it's a pretty scary thing to know, like, there might, if you stop this, you can definitely stop their entire offense. So
I also think their defense, their secondary is super young, right? But their defense, I mean, in that USF game we talked about, if they had a quarterback, USF, that could throw the ball, they would have been up on Bama like 21-3 at one point.
That quarterback missed like 3 deep balls that were wide
that would have been wide open touchdowns.
Yeah.
So if you can hit some shots against Bama's defense, you might have a shot to beat them pretty badly.
Yeah.
If you can stop their offense and make their explosive plays, if you bring their explosive plays from like 20 to like 5, you can beat them. Yeah. Now, your offense has to hit your big plays, but they're going to be open. Like, you're going to have openings. That's a young secondary who gets confused sometimes. So I think that Bama could struggle in some games where they can take advantage of that, where some teams will be able to take advantage of that. But ultimately, we'll see. We'll see in a couple of weeks when Georgia plays them. It's going to be an insane environment for Georgia to walk into. You thought Kroger fucking Field was bad. Okay. Nick Saban Field's going to be a little bit worse. Going to be honest with you. So we better come to play. That's all I'm going to say. And if
Yeah,
we can
but
play and do what we think we can do, I think that game's going to be really good.
Yeah.
I will
This will
say the
be
only thing I
nuts.
really have to add is Alabama's an on schedule offense. So if they stay
Of
on
course.
schedule and stay in front of the sticks, then they're gonna beat you down eventually. If you get them off schedule, like Beach said, I don't know how they're gonna handle that. And if Georgia can
Which
do
is
that,
scary for offenses that are
yeah.
that
Yeah.
are that are like
If
that
you get
because
behind the
it's
sticks a
like
little bit,
it's like a fantasy player, right? You got a boomer bust guy where he's going to get
Yeah.
5 points or he's going to get 30. You never want that. You want the guy who's going to get you 14 every week, 15 every
Yeah.
week. What I tell you, okay, Chris Godwin. I want a Chris Godwin team. That's what I want. I want a team that's going to consistently get me 15 to 20 points a week, and
Yeah.
he ain't going to waver. And that's all
Yeah.
I need. Okay.
Mhm.
But yeah, let's hope Bama can turn into that kind of team that actually can sustain some drives. And
Yeah.
but for Georgia's sake, I hope they suck. All right, let's go to USC and Michigan this week's games. USC is 6-point favorite, number 11 against number 18. Really exciting game. We talked about this a couple weeks ago that we thought USC had a chance to come into the Big Ten and possibly win it with how they looked against LSU and how they looked all season so far against these lesser opponents. But then LSU, they played really well against them. So how are they going to fare against a Michigan team who just got embarrassed by Texas a couple weeks ago? What's going to go on there, right? And they played Arkansas State super close. Like, it's not looking the best for Michigan right now. But if you're USC, you got to take advantage of them while they're like this before they kind of get their bearings. And is that going to happen later in the season? I don't know. But right now, they look really unorganized offensively, and you need to take advantage of that. And USC's defense has done really well this season, creating disruption and that havoc that you want to see a defense create. So we'll see if they can do that. But I think I'm going to take USC -6 in this game as one of my best bets.
Like it. Yeah. I'd agree with you, man. Michigan still, I mean, we were talking about this last week, and before Texas, it's just they've got to figure it out on offense, and they're still a good team, and their defense is great. But when your offense is as bad as it is, and Davis Warren ended up throwing 3 interceptions against Arkansas State and let Arkansas State like kind of hang around in that game. I think they were up like 21-3 early, and then it was just like interception, interception, interception.
Mhm.
It's like, dude. So now, obviously they brought Alex Orji in, and it's like, oh, they were trying to run this duo quarterback system, and then now it's like, oh, Alex Orji might be our guy. Oh, and like we spoke about, the problem is they're two totally different quarterbacks. It's not
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
You
oh, we
can't
got
run
the
an
same guy
offense.
who can,
Yeah.
who's going to run this offense a little bit better. It's like, no, like you got to run two completely different style offenses with these two different guys. So it's just, I mean, USC looking great. Miller Moss is a stud. I mean, typical Lincoln Riley-esque quarterback. Can sling it all over the field. They got good speedy wide receivers on the outside. Even though it's in the big house, I think I think USC handles this game. And I don't know if they beat them as bad as Texas does, but I think Michigan will be able to handle USC's offense a little bit more. They're not as dynamic as Texas is, but I think USC, I could definitely see them covering the spread here.
We need USC's defense or offensive line to be able to hold that Michigan defensive line
Yeah.
because
Yep.
they do have some
Yeah.
really good players on that. So
And
if they can play well against that and then not make mistakes to their one corner, that's good.
Yeah.
If they can do that well, I think they win this game pretty handily. I think that Miller Moss is super good. So he has played
Yeah.
incredible this whole season. He has not played like a young quarterback. He has played well above that. So yeah,
Yeah,
Rich, go
and
ahead.
I think it's going to be kind of interesting because I guess you get to see USC if they have that style of defense that can handle the pro I formation, pound it right at you kind of stuff. Maybe Michigan comes out and switches up the offense completely with Alex Orji at quarterback. But it'll be cool to see if Lincoln Riley's got that. They got that on defense. Like they can stand up to these big, powerful teams that want to run the ball the whole game. But yeah, I think USC should handle Michigan. I think their offense is a shit show. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm definitely leaning Zach's way with this one.
Let's go into the next game, Tennessee and Oklahoma. This is another one that I feel like is the line like seems like it's baiting me, but like
Yeah.
Tennessee -7, like I love that. I don't think Oklahoma's that great defensively, especially on offense. They've had some struggles, and Tennessee looks like they've been kind of rolling. Obviously, Nico made a couple mistakes when they played NC State and threw a couple picks. But he also, or how many did he throw? He threw 2 or was it 1?
2.
I think it was
2, right?
Yeah.
So he struggled a little bit in that sense, but you couldn't tell because they were winning by so much. So it didn't look like he was struggling at all.
Yeah.
But you can't make mistakes like that in these big games that are now SEC games, and you're going to be on the road. So how are you going to fare against it's not a neutral site like it was against NC State. You're going to be at Oklahoma. It's going to be super loud. It's going to be a big time game for them. Oklahoma's going to come prepared, and they're going to come well coached, which is what Brent Venables is. He's a really good coach, especially defensively. So we're going to see how Tennessee fares against that. I like Tennessee -7. It's kind of I'm like in between. I could buy it down to 6.5, but I think Tennessee could win this game by 10. So I kind of like it at 7 though. So I'm going to take Tennessee -7 as my best bet as well. So I got 2 of them already.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd have to agree with you here. I think Tennessee is just way too good, and Oklahoma still, I mean, hasn't showed any promise of being, an SEC power. I mean, we talked about them against Houston at home 2 weeks ago. They won 16-12. And then Tulane last week, they won 34-19, but it was 24-19 up until the last 5-6 minutes of the game
close.
where
It was a close game.
Tulane's trying to push the ball, they throw an interception, and then they have a turnover on downs late in the game, and it ends up being 34-19, which sucked because I had Tulane plus 13.5 as one of my bets last week, and that was just kind of some bull crap, garbage time points for Oklahoma there at the end of the game. But yeah, I just think Nico and that. I mean, Oklahoma's defense is the strong part. So like if they can, I mean, their best bet is forcing Nico into mistakes early in this game and taking a lead, and then seeing how Nico is going to respond to that. Being on the road in Oklahoma, that place is going to be freaking crazy, I'd assume. So I mean, I think they'd have to get an early lead and they'd have to be clean on mistakes. But I just think, I mean, Jackson Arnold's just as young, just as non-polished as Nico is, and Nico's the better quarterback. And Tennessee's defense is a lot better to me. I think they're going to create some turnovers and really get Jackson Arnold on the ropes. So I think it seems like Tennessee is just that easy pick again, and I'm definitely going to roll with it. I'm gonna bet it. So I think Tennessee wins by 14 at least.
Yeah,
Nice.
I think in order for Oklahoma to win this game, they're going to have to be able to generate offense. Their defense. It's going to be one of those games where I think their defense stays on the field way too long, and so they're not as bad as the score would indicate. But
Right.
They're still going to put up points, or Tennessee's still going to put up points. It's time for Jackson Arnold to make that step if he's going to be an SEC quarterback, because he's still looking like he's in the Big 12 with these scores. I mean, you put up 16 against Houston. You only put up 34 against Tulane. I mean, shit, what did Kansas State do last week to Tulane? It was like they put up 34 too, right?
31.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Kansas State against Tulane?
Yeah, I think it was
Tulane.
like 34-27.
Yeah, it was 34-27. So, I mean, these are still, it looks like a big.
Tulane's not a bad team.
But yeah,
they're not a
This
bad
shit
team,
twisted.
but
They're
that's
a
a
good
Big
team.
12 team that's scoring just as many points as you. Like, you got to take that next step at some point, I think, right? And
Yeah, but I think Tulane's a better team than people think. So we're gonna give them a little bit of credit on
I
that.
give
They
them a
just
little
played
bit of
some good
credit, but
teams.
you put, say, Tulane were to play, I don't know, Kansas State's one of the top tier Big 12, right? You put Tulane against, say, Georgia or Alabama,
Yeah.
that score's not even close, like 34-19 or 34-27,
Yeah.
So I think Brent Venables has got something going on the defensive side. They need to polish their offense, and this is Jackson Arnold's chance to prove it. Do I think he will? I think it's going to be a rocky start for them in the SEC. So, yeah, we'll see. I do lean towards the Tennessee -7.
Right on cue. Little Rocky start against good old Rocky Top, huh?
Yeah.
Let's hop into this next game. We got Utah and Oklahoma State. Is Cam Rising still hurt? Is he hurt still? I know that he had like a broken hand or something, so he's probably not going to be healthy.
Yeah, I'm trying to look it up.
But they looked okay last week, so
Cam Rising injury update. This is live injury updates for everybody watching.
Let's get it.
It says he'll be good to go.
Well, good to go Saturday against Oklahoma State, according to the Utes receiver, Dorian Singer. I don't know if a receiver is the best You know,
Yeah, I don't know if I'm
probably ask
taking
the
him as my guy, but hopefully that
fucking
works out.
medical staff.
I think, but if he plays this game, I think it'll be a lot closer. I think that Oklahoma State will be able to run the ball on Utah a little bit. I do that. Obviously, Utah has a really good, well coached defense. Usually, they haven't looked stellar this year. Obviously, playing in some closer games, but I do think Utah could pull this game out. It just depends on if Cam Rising is playing or not. And I don't even know what the line is in this game. Oklahoma State's probably favored, aren't they?
I was thinking actually Utah's the favorite.
If Cam
Utah,
Rising starting, I think he would be.
Utah -2.
Yeah, if Cam Rising starting, they're going to be the favorite, I think. But if not, it's more like maybe a pick 'em. But either way, I think that I like Utah in this game to pull out the win. I'm not betting it though.
You got
I don't
Beach.
know. I think Utah's been a little underwhelming this year. Obviously, they played Baylor earlier in the year, hardly beat them. And Oklahoma State, I mean, hasn't looked great, but their offense is rolling. So I
Mm-hmm.
think, I think the home field advantage here is huge. I think this is a awesome game. Honestly, Utah moving into the Big 12, and this is the first. I mean, I know they played Baylor; they didn't count it as a Big 12 matchup, but Baylor's also bottom of the barrel in terms of Big 12 play. So, I mean, what a hell of a matchup to open up both of these people's Big 12 season. And I mean, this is basically. I mean, I think you could see a rematch of this in the Big 12 championship. So where do you see how it goes? I think. God, I
Both
want to
these
say,
teams are like have been the 1 and 2
yeah,
projected to win, the
yeah. I
Big
mean,
12. So
Yeah,
if Alan Bowman
doesn't
controls the
turn the
ball
ball
and
over. Yeah,
and doesn't turn the ball over.
God, he
I
turns the
think,
ball over.
yeah,
He pisses me off sometimes with how he throws the damn ball.
seventh
yeah.
year
If he doesn't
senior
turn the
to
ball
can't read
over,
a
Wobbly
coverage.
ass ball sometimes. I'm like, what are you doing? Why do you have no umph on this ball?
yeah.
Where are you throwing this to?
If Oklahoma State wins the turnover battle here, I think they win. But I mean, obviously Utah's known for good defense, and they very well could force Bowman into throwing a couple interceptions. We'll just have to see how old Ollie Gordon can do. But I think he's going to be a freaking
If they can
brawl. I
stop the
think
run,
it's
I
going to
think
be,
it's going to be a
yeah,
good game. If Utah's defense, and they're pretty good about that usually, right?
yeah,
They can usually stop you in one dynamic of what you're best at.
yeah.
If they can do that, they can control a little bit you on the explosives of your run game. Then they can control your offense with how you are with passing, right? So making you make mistakes, mixing up coverages, and I think they'll be able to do that. So
Yeah.
I think Utah's going to play well, but we'll
Yeah,
see.
I'm going to take, but I'll say I'll take Oklahoma State due to home field advantage because I think that's kind of what this game draws up to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ollie Gordon's got to put a stamp on this season at some point. Um, he's been so underwhelming. It's ridiculous. I think Tulsa, he didn't even eclipse 50 yards on 17 carries, and then Arkansas the week before that, we all watched that game. That was horrendous by
They
him.
just been stunting on him. I mean,
Yeah,
he can't do shit.
I mean, Bowman's gonna have to make throws, and he has the receiver talent to do it. He's just got to put the ball there, you know. And so this game's on him. If Utah stops the run, which I think we all think they will, he's
Mm-hmm.
gonna have to be able to throw that ball. And he's got the receivers. Like I said, who's number 80? Little number 80. He's a beast. Um, but I really think that's going to be what it comes down to. I think there could be a lot of points scored. And Rising's going to be able to match what Oklahoma State does because he always does that shit every time I watch him. I'm like, oh, Utah doesn't score any points. And then this ninth year senior comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it'll be a fun game to watch at least. It's a nice little Big 12 matchup to get the week going because the slate,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're talking 3 games this week. Slate's kind of more or less
Yeah, but also
dry.
I think we're not even talking about the Illinois Nebraska game. We haven't even brought that up, but that's going to be
Yeah.
a good game as
Yeah.
well. Nebraska's only
Yeah.
favored by like 7, so I think that's kind of a
Yeah. We got
it's
Louisville, Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech
yeah. I
traveling to
mean, there's
Louisville.
not this
We
is
don't talk
actually not
about
a
that game.
this is
Just
not a bad slate on
Yeah.
these. Like it's actually pretty good. It's just a bunch of teams that aren't
Yeah.
my
these big
standard of good
powerhouses that are
slate
playing.
though
So
is like week 6 this year.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
I
we're
mean, and
gonna get that.
that's everybody's though, but we'll see. Let's go into best bets of the week. I already told you guys my two. I like USC -6. I like Tennessee -7. There's a couple more that I like as well, but Brennan, you got some?
Oh man, I've been looking over these. I'm gonna I'm gonna go. All right, I like this one. Um, little ballsy because South Florida played good against Alabama, but we obviously ended up winning that game by what? I don't know,
I think you
20,
You
covered.
covered.
20
Yeah.
28 or something. No, we didn't cover. Cover was like 31 and a half, but we ended up winning by like 28 or
Oh, you
something.
covered on my teaser. I know that.
But I'm gonna go. Miami travels to South Florida and at a 16 and a half point favorite. I think Miami is just on a tear right now. I think they're potentially a top 5 team in the country. They just got to play somebody to prove it. And I think this could also be like a statement game for them. Like, oh, Alabama struggled against South Florida for a while. Let's go out there
But
and
we
beat the
played
hell
really
out of them.
well. Hmm.
Yeah, let's go out there and beat the hell out of them. Show everybody how good we are. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna
I
take
don't hate
Miami
that.
on
I
the
don't hate that.
road minus 16 and a half against South Florida. And then I am going to go. I saw another one on here.
Dude,
Let's go one in the top.
I hate
Oh, I know what I wanted. Oh, I know what I wanted to do. I'm gonna go back to Tulane. They are on the road. Let's find them. Sorry, I didn't write these down because I was still a little undecided. But Tulane on the road to playing Louisiana Raging Cajuns. They're only 3-point favorites. And Tulane's just played back-to-back really tough games and played both of those games really good against quality opponents in Kansas State and Oklahoma. So Louisiana hasn't played. They played Grambling week 1, 140-10, and they played Kennesaw State week 2, 134-10. Those are two not very good teams. So I think
Cupcakes.
Tulane we talk about how good of a team Tulane is. They just had a tough schedule so far. I think they have a big bounce back week. Only 3-point favorites. I'm gonna go with 2 favorites again. I'm terrible at betting, so you should probably fade these picks, but those are my 2 picks of the week.
All right, so I'm taking a different approach since I've been 0-2 the last 2 weeks. I'm going over unders this week, and we're
Oh,
going
there you
two
go.
unders. All right.
bro. Can someone bet Cal +2 against fucking Florida
No,
State?
I don't want to touch that. That's such a trap.
No.
Why? I'm
Florida
touching
State's
it.
going to win their first game of the season by 20, and
Mike
then Florida
Norvell's gonna
we're gonna.
save his.
That's what I'm scared of. I'm just scared of.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm scared of the one time. I mean, I think I did bet Memphis plus the points, but
They
like I'm
just
scared of the
beat
one time.
Auburn. Auburn is
Yeah.
better than Florida State by
that's
far.
the point.
Well, Auburn also had 5 turnovers, and Cal still only won that game by a touchdown.
Okay, yeah, but okay, yeah, I agree. But Auburn, okay, yeah, but Auburn is not even starting the quarterback that they had
Yeah,
in that
hey,
game.
beast.
But what I'm saying is like they're
Yeah.
playing. Well, whatever. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not gonna touch it. I
You
guess because
take
you
it.
guys
You make it
talked
a
me out of
third
it.
best
But
bet. Put it another one.
you guys are scaring me now
Put
because
your
I
balls
liked it. I liked it, but now I'm kind of like I don't know. But dude, there's no way
yeah.
Cal is worse than Florida State, right?
Yeah. I get what you're
I
saying.
don't know. We'll see if that quarterback comes out and plays some football like he did against Auburn.
And then we got Florida -6 at Mississippi State. Like that's not bad. It's just at Mississippi State, which is kind of scary. But
Florida
Florida,
sucks.
awful.
Florida.
yeah,
That's
Mississippi State's bad
dude,
though. I
Mississippi
think
State's
Florida's
bad.
better than
Bad.
Mississippi State, but
Yeah.
are they 6-point favorites? Right? Are they 7-point favorites? Like how do you
Vegas
compare these
knows
two
shit we
teams because
don't.
they're so bad? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
All right. So
What-
first pick, we got under on Michigan USC. It's 46 and a half. Michigan's not going to score, so USC is going to be doing all the scoring. And with that, I don't think USC scores 46 points on the Michigan defense or
I think
31
this could
even.
be like a 35-10 game, and you
Yeah.
would sneak this out.
I mean, I just don't see the Michigan offense putting up that many points, and I think to hit the
You don't see him
overs,
putting
you
up
have to
10.
well 10, yeah, but
That's what I'm saying.
35. Their
35
defense
to
is going to give
10.
up 35. Come on, they didn't even give
Yeah,
up
I could
35 to
see like
Texas.
I could see a 28-10.
Yeah, 28-10, something like that. That's kind of the score I envision. Maybe a 28-17, you still sneak it out. That's just a lot of points in my opinion. And then Tennessee OU under 57 and a half. Like we were talking about, I don't think Jackson Arnold's going to put up that many points on the Tennessee defense. I think, Tennessee might do the scoring, but
This is a
Oklahoma.
test for Tennessee's defense, right? We've been wanting a test for them, or at least something to see if their defense is actually good, or if they've just been playing bad offenses.
Yeah.
And they're going to play a decent offense. Like Oklahoma's not a bad offense, right? They're a decent offense. Let's just see how they are. Because if they play like shit against a decent offense, what are they going to play like when they play an elite offense?
Then even comes the question of Nico. You're playing a good defense or a decent defense and a well-coached defense.
You're just playing you're playing a very well-coached defense. They don't have the bodies that you really need defensively, but they do have the coach and the mind, right?
Yeah.
So can you out-scheme a young kid? and that's what
Yeah.
that's what you're
I could
looking
definitely
for.
see that. I could definitely see that being more of a second half game. I could see the first half being real slow, like teams trying to figure each other out. Maybe a couple of turnovers here from the young
Maybe a
quarterbacks.
punt or something like that. A couple punts.
And and 57 is such a high number that if
Yeah.
it takes to the
Yeah.
second half to start the scoring, then maybe you cover that with the over.
Gosh,
I
dude,
don't
I don't
think
know.
that-
I think they
a lot of
bet to
points.
score. I think both them teams bet to score.
I don't think so.
I think
I don't think
Tennessee's
so.
gonna run it
Tennessee
up. And then
might. I don't think Oklahoma is.
I think
Yeah.
Oklahoma can score 21 on this team. And if you're thinking Tennessee's going to score 42, then that's 42-21.
I mean, they only scored 16 against Houston. I think Tennessee's defense is a little better than that. But no,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
agree.
you know,
I agree.
I mean that's a pretty high number. I think I like that pick.
Yeah, it's not bad.
We got to switch something up because I'm
I
picking
just have
lines
to
and
talk.
I'm
I'm just
fucking
talking. I'm just talking
Yeah.
in it, and I'm just trying to see where your mind's at.
You stick with your Cal plus 2.5.
I didn't pick that. Don't put that on. That wasn't a for sure pick for me. All right. Well, we're signing off now. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll catch you guys next week and the recap and the woes for week 4. See ya.
All right, see you.
So later.